Hello, everybody. This is Helena Summer, love and relationship coach. Super excited today to be with no one else but the guru of all of this transformation when it comes to our relationships, John Gray. John, thank you for being here with me again.
I'm so happy, and it's a pleasure for me.
Yes, I want to talk directly about the most important thing that is happening to women of a certain age and how that tigress time can affect our relationship. Please, can you tell us, in your experience of so many years of teaching and writing books about hormonal changes, what did you notice is the most psychological effect? We all know physiological hot flashes and stuff, but psychological effect that influences our partnerships.
Well, what we have to realize is why, first of all, are we having the physical symptoms? Let me just discuss why, and then we can also look at the symptoms. Is that when you're going through menopause, your body has to make a change from your ovaries making the estrogen to your adrenal gland making the estrogen. Okay, you don't have the freedom of huge amounts of estrogen immediately available as a necessity. Now, suddenly your body can still make estrogen, but it has to make it from another gland, which is your adrenal gland. Now, when people today women are having menopausal symptoms, we know the hot flashes, the mood disturbances, the irritability, and the impatience. It's impatience, mood, it's remembering the past, focusing on the negative. You're in a stress response. See, this is what we have to look at. Those are the symptoms. You're in a stress response. That when you're in a stress response, because the adrenal glands have to kick into gear and make this very important hormone called estrogen, which is the love hormone. Okay, now people here, they always think of oxytocin as the love hormone, and that is a brain chemical, and that is an important hormone too. But that's the safety. When you stimulate oxytocin, you feel safe. That's not what lowers your stress levels, though. From the safety, you now begin to feel like, okay, if I feel safe, then I can ask for help. Then I can depend on others. Almost the whole beginnings of the feminist movement of more independence for women, although I think it's a great thing for women to have more independence. If you're in a bad relationship, you can get out of it. Okay. So there's a reality, but understand it all starts from being in a bad relationship. Girls growing up with fathers who are not available, fathers who weren't there. And so they can't trust men. They can't depend on men. So they live in a state of hyper stress because they don't feel safe. The presence of a father, a loving father, makes you feel safe. When you feel safe, then you can feel, I can depend on a man. Your mother did not depend on a man. And so you have no experience of men are wonderful. Men are great. They're like the handyman. They'll do whatever you want. They're the rescue guy. They're the emergency guy. They don't have any needs. They're not demanding. They don't whine. They don't complain. They're like comfortable to be around. So these are all the good virtues of men. But if you don't have that as a child growing up, then you don't feel safe. And so when women don't feel safe, then they experience more adrenaline. They're in a sea of adrenaline. Now, for women who are going through menopause and you're having these hot flashes and mood swings and irritability and inability to feel positive as opposed to a bias towards negativity. What happens when you're in a stress state? Because now your adrenal glands are being required to produce estrogen, but the adrenal has already burnt out. See, your adrenal gland is going to be pumping out all of your cortisol. And a lot of women, by the time they get to menopause, they're not even making cortisol. So, because I have women test their hormones and so forth. And when they're younger, when they're stressed, they'll be producing the cortisol hormone. But as you get older, you're not even producing the cortisol hormone because it's the gland has been overstressed. Okay. It's not healthy. So you have to help restore adrenal function and do things that will increase adrenal function. And ironically, they're the same things that would allow you to produce more estrogen. Because first you produce oxytocin, which is I'm feeling safe, and we'll discuss how to do that. And then with that, then what are the skills to stimulate estrogen? And you have to have these skills to make it through menopause, but even more importantly, after menopause. You want to be happy and fulfilled. You want to be making love. You want to have your sexual function intact. So many women
We need to
lose
talk
that.
about sex. We definitely need to talk about that. Yes.
Yeah, very, very important because in order to experience increasing love in your life, sexuality is a big part of it. I'm not saying it's the only way to feel love, but to feel increasing love, to feel that attraction, that ignite of, it's not going to be all the time, but what happens is you have to think of it like two magnets, a man and a woman, and he's the one pole, the positive, he's actually the positive pole, she's the negative pole in terms of the
Energetics.
it's the polarity, but it doesn't mean she's a negative person. But he's the receptive, the emptiness, and since the vagina and the penis penetrates in. So you've got the positive pole, you got the negative pole. And if you take two magnets and you just move them in that field, you'll feel comfort. You'll feel it's like a field that's different from other people, without a doubt. You've got this field, but you don't feel as much until they get close, and that's the bedroom. When you're lying in bed or when you're touching skin to skin, what happens is then, like two magnets, if they were to come together, let's make these magnets. I decide I'm going to find some magnets to show people this. But what happens is they're coming together, and when they get close, they spark. I mean, there is a spark, and that's how to get the spark back. You've got, and but you've got to have the polarity of her having way more estrogen than him, and him having way more testosterone than her. That's the polarity. The only way you'll find that polarity again is to find a new relationship. It won't last that long, but you will. The newness of a relationship produces dopamine. Now, dopamine for a man raises his testosterone, and dopamine, when a woman feels safe, raises estrogen. So now what you're getting is this polarity of high femininity and high masculinity. And then when you get naked, the spark is there. And that's what you can have for a lifetime. And I'm 72 years old. The spark's never gone. My friends, in my age group, they're not interested in sex anymore. Nothing's happening down south anymore. And for me, it's never gone away. What's gone away is it's not like I'm horny all day. Okay. that doesn't happen. But what happens is I get close to my wife and give her a kiss, or she kisses me, and it's
You can explode.
And it explodes. You need that little, because you don't want to be like, as a young guy, you're looking for it all the time or whatever. You don't have to do that anymore. But what you have is this nice field of connection and love, and then you get close, the click happens. And that's what we call it, making love, because that brings back the love. Because what it will do for a woman is it increases her estrogen levels again. There's nothing more powerful than making love to produce high estrogen in a woman. And she doesn't need as high as when she was a young woman. What she needs when she's young or older is balance. It's the balance between the male side of her and the female side of her. And when women are going through all the menopausal physical symptoms, that's a sign she has adrenal burnout. And if she has adrenal burnout, she has to change the way she relates to people, because what caused the adrenal burnout in the first place is the way she relates to people. She's more independent. She's a giver. She overgives. She's overbusy. She thinks about other people, or she's thinking about her goals. She's feeling the pressure of making money. All those things is her male side.